It was July 24th, 1968. The kind of day that seems too ordinary to become legend. The kind of day you don't write down, don't mark in your memory. The kind of day that begins like 100 others, but ends with a silence no one ever forgot. In Vernon, Connecticut, a quiet New England town tucked into the hills and trees, children played in yards and rode their bikes down Fox Hill Drive. The sun was strong. The air smelled of cut grass and sunscreen. At Henry Park, the public pool buzzed with the voices of families cooling off under the afternoon sky. And somewhere in the middle of that day, a 13-year-old girl named Deborah walked into the park and never came out. Deborah had been visiting her aunt and uncle that summer. She came from Mystic, Connecticut, a small coastal town known for its seaport and whaling museum. Her family lived a quiet life there. No scandals, no chaos, just normalcy. Her mother described her as sweet, not shy, but polite, helpful. She liked reading, helping in the kitchen, writing notes to her friends. She wasn't rebellious. She wasn't the kind of girl who sneaked out or lied about where she was going. She did what was asked of her. That July, she had traveled inland to Vernon to stay with relatives. Maybe it was meant to be a break from her routine. Maybe it was to give her parents some time alone. No one thought too much of it. It was summer. Kids visited cousins all the time. And Deborah seemed to be having a good time. Her letters home were cheerful. Her mother received a birthday card that very day, July 24th, where Deborah had written, "I'm being good and helping Annie. Happy birthday, Mommy. I love you." She had no way of knowing that would be the last thing she would ever say to her mother. That Wednesday afternoon, Deborah and her cousin, another young teen, decided to walk to the public pool at Henry Park. The pool was a fixture in Vernon, especially in the 1960s, when the summers felt longer and the options for kids were fewer. It was a short walk, just a few minutes from the house on Fox Hill Drive. They set off just after lunch. What happened next is one of those moments that can change a life in less than 5 minutes. When the girls reached the edge of the park, they realized they'd forgotten towels. No big deal. Deborah's cousin offered to run back home to grab them. Deborah would wait, and she did. She waited right by the pool entrance. It couldn't have been more than 10 minutes, but when the cousin returned, Deborah was gone. At first, she looked around. Maybe Deborah had wandered off to a bench or gone to talk to someone. Maybe she'd gotten bored and decided to go back to the house. But she wasn't there. She wasn't anywhere. No one remembered seeing her. No one recalled anything strange. She had simply disappeared. The aunt called police immediately. And just like that, a normal afternoon turned into a search. Vernon police responded quickly. Officers canvassed the park, asked staff at the pool if they'd seen her. Volunteers joined in. Search dogs were brought in. A helicopter flew overhead. The woods were combed. The trails were searched. The pool was drained. But Deborah was nowhere to be found. No torn clothing. No footprints. No blood. No body. It was like she had walked into the air and vanished. And nobody had seen a thing. The investigation began with those closest to her. The family was interviewed extensively, especially the cousin who had been with her. The stories checked out. The timeline held. There were no cracks in the narrative. No one in the family had a criminal record. There were no suspicious boyfriends. No known issues. Deborah had no behavioral problems. No fights. No sudden emotional changes. Nothing that indicated she would run away. She had no money. No bag, no plan, and no one ever saw her again. As the hours turned into days and days into weeks, investigators worked tirelessly to follow every lead they could find. There were tip lines set up, flyers distributed, local papers carried her story. The Hartford Courant ran a piece on the mystery of the missing girl from Henry Park. A woman came forward saying she saw a dark car parked near the woods around the time Deborah went missing. A man was reportedly sitting inside, watching the pool area. But the description was vague. The license plate was unreadable. The car, a dark green sedan, could have belonged to anyone. There were no cameras in 1968, no surveillance, no cell phones to trace movements, no digital trail. And so, the car, like Deborah, vanished. Some began to theorize. Maybe Deborah had been abducted by a stranger, a predator, someone who knew how to move quickly, quietly. A car pulls up, a door opens, a girl is called over, and in less than 5 seconds she's gone. It's happened before. It's happened since. But why would she go willingly? Why wouldn't someone see it? Henry Park wasn't deserted. It was a public space. There were dozens of people nearby. No scream. No one saw her being dragged. No one saw her running. Just nothing. Another theory was that she'd fallen, maybe into the nearby reservoir or a hidden ravine. But those areas were searched thoroughly. Dogs were brought in. Divers swept the waters. If she had fallen, they would have found her. They found nothing. A third theory, the hardest for the family to hear, was that someone close to her had harmed her. But the family was cooperative. Polygraphs were administered. Alibis were checked. And again, no evidence pointed in that direction. It simply didn't fit. In the end, there were no answers, no suspects, no breakthroughs. And so, the case began to fade. Quietly. As the 1970s came and went, the town of Vernon moved on. New children played in Henry Park. The pool was remodeled. Trees grew taller. But for Deborah's family, time froze. Her mother would wake in the night, thinking she'd heard footsteps. Her father sat by the phone, waiting for a call that never came. Every birthday passed in silence. And every time a body was found in Connecticut, every Jane Doe discovered in the woods, they held their breath. But none of them were Deborah. Over the decades, the case was reopened several times. Cold case detectives reviewed the files in the 1980s, and again in the early 2000s, each time hoping that new forensic technology might crack something old investigators had missed. DNA was cross-checked with unidentified remains. Composite sketches were aged up to see what she might look like as an adult, but there was nothing to match against. There was no evidence, no fingerprints, no scene, only the memory of a girl and the ghost of a question. Where did she go? Deborah's case is one of the oldest unsolved missing children cases in Connecticut, and perhaps one of the quietest. It never became national news. There was no Amber Alert system in 1968, no Facebook posts, no media circus, just a mother with a birthday card and a hole in her life, and a town with a secret it doesn't know it's keeping. Today, Henry Park still stands. Kids still splash in the pool. Teenagers sit under the same trees. Couples walk their dogs. Joggers take the trails. It's peaceful, beautiful even. But for those who remember, it carries a shadow. There's a certain part of the park, near the old pool entrance, where, if you're quiet, you might feel something in the air. Not fear exactly, but something unsettled, like the ground itself remembers. Some who walk there don't even know why they shiver. They don't know her name, but the silence remembers her. Deborah would be in her 60s now. If she's alive, if she survived whatever happened that day, she may have children of her own, grandchildren. But if she didn't, if her life ended in those woods or in the back of a car, then she became another child lost to time. A story half told, a name whispered only by those who remember. And so we are left with only questions. The kind of questions that don't have endings. Did someone take her? Was it someone passing through town? Or someone from the inside? Did she know them? Was it quick? Or did she suffer? And if there was someone who knew, someone who saw, why have they never come forward? More than 50 years have passed, but someone, somewhere, might still know something. Someone might remember a strange car, a man who was there and then gone, a slip of information never reported. Or maybe someone remembers Deborah herself, a kind, gentle girl, who wrote her mom a birthday card, who waited patiently at a pool, who didn't scream, who didn't run, who simply vanished. So we ask you, the listener, not for answers, but for thoughts. What do you believe happened to Deborah that day? Do you think it was someone she knew or a complete stranger? Why has no trace ever been found? And how does a girl vanish without anyone seeing a thing? Let us know what you think in the comments, because someone out there might hold the missing piece, even if they don't know it yet.